Welcome back to Blunt Blowing Mama podcast. I'm your host, Shanitria, and we are joined by our Cannamoms. We are having a Cannamom Roundtable. The series is back, or maybe it's the first episode. Let me just say that again, because I don't know when I'm going to air the order. So let's do that again. From the top. Hey, you guys, welcome back to Blunt Blowing Mama podcast. I'm your host, Shanitria, and today I am joined by my Cannamom Roundtable. We are going to be having an amazing conversation about motherhood and plant medicine and how it helps us in our different paths and roles to journey the motherhood and being moms now and helping our own, finding ourselves as women as well within motherhood. It's not, being a mom ain't easy, but I will say plants and medicine helps a lot. And so on this episode, we will be chatting about mental health and how cannabis helps us for that. People really like to talk about therapy and self-care and all those things and self-love. And for me, none of those things exist without using plants at some point of that process as well. So I'm really happy that I got some really dope ass moms to join me today and have a conversation about that. Because I think more moms need to be talking about mental health and how they're using plants to kind of aid them in that. Because, when you see the smiling pictures of the mom who has her life together, just know that there's probably a vape in that diaper bag or something. That's what's holding it all together. So we're going to get into that conversation. I got my mamas here today. Ladies, please feel free to introduce yourselves. Let's rock. Let's go this direction actually this time. So Wendy, you go first, and then Ce Ce, and then let's go.
Hi, I'm Wendy Brazil, author of Why Mommy Gets High. And on to you.
I'm Ce Ce Counts. I am one half of Puff and Parlay, and we are two moms that on our journey of cannabis kind of wanted to share it with the world. We're crazy.
I'm Renee. I'm the other half of Puff and Parlay. And we're two moms just breaking the stigma of being us.
Yeah, I love it. I'm Amber. I am from Carpools to Cocktails. I am a creative director, product photographer, and freelance writer. And I'm just out here trying to be the best Cannamom I can possibly be.
And I'm Tammy, aka the Cannabis Cutie. I am a cannabis advocate and educator. I'm also a mom of two. I have a 12-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old son. And I'm proud to be a Cannamom, out and loud.
Yes.
Cannamom.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so I'm really excited to have this conversation about mental health with you guys today, because I think it's really important as a mom to take care of your mental health. When that saying of happy wife, happy life, or if mama's not good then nobody's good, that's real ass shit. And it really does come back to putting the face mask, the oxygen mask on yourself before reaching for the baby or for reaching for your significant other, and make sure you're taking care of yourself. So often I find, or at least I found myself getting lost in my career at one point in my life, getting lost in my relationship, getting lost in motherhood, sometimes getting lost in all three at once, which is really crazy because it's oh shit, I've lost myself. I don't know who the fuck I am anymore. So I wanted to ask you guys, why would someone opt for cannabis as a medicinal option for their mental health? Why have you guys decided to kind of turn to this plant that you're medicating with right now as a form of mental health care?
The side effects of other options is my main reason, and why it makes me feel good. And it helps me be a better mother. It helps me show up. It helps me be patient. And I don't have any side effects as far as not being able to be there for my kids at all. So it's a perfect plant.
Yeah, I lost my mom, and within a couple of months, I was going through a divorce. And it was a not wanted divorce. It was a surprise. And I was put on an SSRI for the first time. I heard you guys talking about that earlier. And it was like walking in a haze. I would drop the kids off, and all I would want to do is get back in bed. And I went back and I talked to my doctor, and he said, "Is there anything that works for you?" And I said, "Yeah, weed." weed has always worked for me. I feel really good when I smoke it. I only need, use it when I need it. And he wrote me a prescription. This was before weed was legal.
Love that.
And
Wow.
so I was given little tiny balls of basically oil, hemp oil, or I guess it wouldn't have been hemp oil. It was, THC. And it changed my evenings. Like I was able to stay smiley, light some candles, put on some music, enjoy my children, and remember that there was something left, that it wasn't all as bleak. And it really helped get me through, different times. And I love using when I'm happy, but boy, is it a helper when you're sad.
Yeah.
And mental health, there were times I really didn't think I was going to get through that time. And the antidepressants did not help me. They made me feel like I was giving up. So.
Yeah.
That's really real. I mean, I've definitely experienced that as well. What about you ladies? Like,
for me, it's the one thing that brought me back to myself, particularly after my first pregnancy and being young and uncertain of everything. And when I finally started smoking again, I remember being like, yes, this feels like my favorite pair of jeans. Like, it was so easy to slip back into and felt more comfortable, and I felt capable, and like I could make the better decisions. And I was like, and I remember someone being like, aren't you afraid like you're gonna zone out? And I was like, so here's the thing. It was like, once this child has come out, like I am in tune to her. I hear everything. I don't sleep a lot because I hear every single breath, everything. And I'm like, I'm probably more focused when I'm consuming than when I was just like partying and hanging out. Like I'm that much more in tune. I was like, so no, it's like, but all I want to do is just be present. And that was the thing that it felt like, okay, I'm here in this moment. I can hang out with you. We can do the fun things and be silly. And I don't have to be constantly like, okay, well, what's the next step? What's the next step? What's the next step?
What's going to happen?
Yeah. So it was nice to
anxiety.
just be like, this felt really good. And it made me feel like I could then do other things and not just focus on keeping this tiny human alive, but actually okay, now I can read a book and do this and do those little small things that felt like me. So yeah, for me, it's always going to be the thing that has brought me back to myself.
Yeah. For me, I tried pharmaceuticals and I just don't believe in the rebound effect. Like I have to feel worse before I feel better. Or if I take the Xanax, I don't care about what's happening in my life, but I also don't care about school. And that's kind of an issue at the cost that it is currently. So I was already, prior to motherhood, consuming cannabis as a wellness, especially mental health product. And as women, we go through so much. We have, periods. We have dealing with whatever else we're dealing with in our life. And there's just not enough medicine to deal with all of these unique situations. But cannabis can get me through my, anxiety issues, for sleep, to help me relax, to help me laugh and smile, to open my mind. As long as I set my intention with this plant, it can be whatever medicine I guide it to. So I can't do that with Xanax. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that and I'm not going to have any recollection for about 2 to 3 hours of my day. I have the most visceral reactions to pharmaceuticals, whether it's an antibiotic, a painkiller. My body has very strong reactions. So I'm just not a fan. I like to believe that, or I've reconciled that intoxication is our right because it is in nature. I mean, even birds are chewing on fermented, grapes and fruits. They're getting intoxicated. No one told us that we had to go through this experience just straight and narrow. Maybe the Roman Catholic Church, but that's just not true of the human experience. We have intoxicants in nature for our benefit as long as we're applying it properly. So, yeah.
It does make this reality so much better.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
Absolutely.
Well, I believe it's where we're supposed to be. It's part of nature. It's how God wants us. It is to be part of things. And he wouldn't have given he.
Right.
It wouldn't have been given to us if it wasn't. It's a gift. And I really think it, helped my life.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you guys because you touched on it a little bit, each of you already, but what was your experience with your mental and emotional health postpartum? Like, and what signs should new parents look out for in regards to postpartum depression or anxiety or PTSD? Like, what was that initial? Did you notice a shift in yourself, or was it other people telling you like, "Hey"? Don't you usually, or was it a combination of both, or was there just like a period of denial? Like, what did that look like for you guys?
So for me, it was more manic. It wasn't as like I can't get out of bed. Like I wouldn't want to, but I'm like, I got to prove myself. So every day is like going to the paint, like every single day, going hard, getting up early, like working out, making sure that the kids are fed.
Anxiety.
Like, yeah, both with, and like first time and second time was like, and I think even second time I put more pressure on myself, even though I had more barriers and things in place and boundaries and help, I still put a lot of pressure on myself to like be this certain type of like ideal mom, right? Like this was the beginning of the rise of the Pinterest mom. So I was very much wanting to be in that like mentality and place. So it very much manifested as like manic behavior, needing to get all the things done, being perfect, like having the kids look amazing, doing this, doing that. And then like looking back, especially with my daughter, I look back and I was like, yo, I was in the weeds. And I can tell when I look at photos, like I'm like holding on for dear life.
Yeah.
But like you can't tell. People are like, you look really happy. And I'm like, like I was absolutely hanging by a thread.
Not the evil laugh, Mom. Like,
I feel good because nobody knew. Like, you're like, well, I was masking really well.
I did it
but,
really
like,
good.
No, I was getting really good at it. But yeah, it was like,
Yeah.
it was definitely like looking back after with her and seeing like, okay, this is how I was trying to do things. And then even with him, it was almost a whole decade later. And I saw myself slipping into similar behaviors and patterns and being like, okay, you can't get stuck here.
Yeah.
Like, and that was my number one thing was like, I can't get stuck here. And I didn't have any really close friends that were close by at the time. So it was harder. All my best friends lived out of state and I had like mom support, but not in that same regard. So it was very much like, I just stopped like talking a lot. Like I talked to everybody, like I'll shoot the shit all day long, but I wasn't talking. And even like my husband at the time was like, yeah, like you're not good, are you? And I was like, yeah, I don't think so. I think I kind of need a break. And so that was kind of nice of like having him, but like because I had been vocal about it prior to getting pregnant again and being like, so look, if we get to this point and I become this person, like just like let's have a sit down for a little bit. Like do that. Somebody needs to step in because you're so in the weeds. Well, I was that I couldn't see the forest for the trees because I thought I was doing great. Like everything's fine. I got this. I got this. I got this. I got it. I got it. That's all my thing. It was like, I got it. And I got it. And I didn't have shit.
So you're saying reach out to somebody. Like don't be afraid to say, I'm not okay.
Yeah. Like, especially if you have someone who you know can either coordinate or like my best friend is a Virgo. So she's going to get shit done. Like, regardless if I want her
Shout
to
out
or
to
not.
Virgo.
Yeah, like, shout out to my Virgo queens because they will show up and show out. And, like, she would call and be like, I can tell, like, you are not. And I'm like, no. And I'm talking a mile a minute and doing all the things. And she's like, yeah, no. And, like, she called him and was like, you need to do something. Like, she's not okay. And it was like, oh, okay.
So you had your advocate.
Yeah. And without realizing it, but because like I spoke up and was honest, like, look, y'all, I didn't do good the first time. So this time I don't know what's going to happen because this is a whole different experience and I'm in a whole different place mentally, emotionally, you know, financially, all of that. So it changes, but like it was still just as hard, but it wasn't like.
Did you think about it in between? Like, okay, it's going to be hard again when this second baby's born. Because I didn't think about it at all. It like completely surprised me the second time too. I'm like, why didn't
I was
look at
surprised
this?
Baby
as
is
fuck
coming,
as well.
But like you're not thinking about like you still have to parent this other child.
Whole toddler.
Wait, let me tell you this. So my daughter woke up, I think it was like maybe a week after being home. And a few days, whatnot. But she came and woke me up and was like, Mom, you need to take me to school. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you. There's you.
There's another you, right?
There's another child here.
Like it would be the strangest things. And like mine are 9 years apart. So like I had a 3-year-old and a 13-year-old.
Right.
Oh,
So yeah, like I was
wow.
in the weeds, right?
Whoa.
But like,
I don't even know if I can think of a harder combination.
Let alone a 13-year-old girl. I'm like, whoa.
yeah, 3-year-old boy, 13-year-old girl.
Oh
So
my
we were in the
gosh,
weeds. And
3-year-old
I like
boy.
because they're just.
But low-key, she can help you.
But low key, like it's
She
not
also
do
needs
they?
help.
If she
She
will.
does
do
need
they?
help. Like,
Yeah.
she's not like at that age. Like they're
Yeah.
no, like trust me, when they like.
They're
I don't
trying
even
to-
know. For me, in my head, a
No.
13-year-old is so capable.
No,
I'm like, I can't wait.
No.
So you think so because
No.
yes, in a way, but also you're like you're an idiot
Aw.
Yeah.
every single day.
You know nothing.
And that's the thing is you have to, and I tell people all the time because my oldest is 21, so I'm on the other side of it to a certain degree. But like I'm very much like you guys, you got to look at it when they're, especially when they're, because Tammy and I talk about it all the time because she's got a 12-year-old, and that is I'm not, and I was, and
It's
I told
the
her,
beginning.
I told her I was like, so I'm gonna be real honest with you. I was like 12 to 16 or 15 and a half kind of sucks ass. Like I'm just,
I'm
gonna
in
be-
it.
they're
We're
rough.
there.
It's hard.
It's so hard.
really
They do
hard.
come back though.
Yeah,
They do come
it
back.
does.
She'll
They
come
come
back.
They
So-
come back so much
She'll come
better.
back.
Yes,
Yeah.
but it's like,
Boy.
and then when you have a daughter,
That window.
right, you are then looking at yourself through a different lens.
Yes.
And so you have to have done the work
Yes.
and then continue to still do the work and then
Yeah.
step back every time you want to be like, what? And then it's like, you are a
Awesome.
walking hormone. You have no idea what's happening. Every day is new for you. So even though I've told you 750,000 times, and we had 6 conversations about it this morning, but
God
this is
bless
also
you.
where cannabis comes in, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
now we're like,
Patience.
I'm gonna
The
go do
patience.
laundry. Well, when I was still hiding, it was like, I'm gonna go do laundry really quick.
Yeah.
And when I come back, we can have a conversation. Now I'm like, I'm gonna go in the garage and smoke. I'll be back. Like,
Yeah.
It's not a
Preach it, girl.
secret
no,
anymore.
it's not a secret anymore.
I'll be back.
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
They
I'll
know
be
where
right
that
back.
is now.
Then we can holler and then we're good.
Yeah,
But-
because if we take care of ourselves, hopefully we'll have children who won't have as many mental issues. I mean,
Right.
we've really suffered, women at this point in time. We're trying to turn out people, human beings that are a little bit more grounded, a little bit more in touch, and don't have these same issues. I mean, we, like you said, that whole being perfect thing, and it's just really
It's a trap, y'all.
I'm a
Pressure.
very motivated person
Yes.
too, and I was hanging wallpaper at 9 months pregnant on ladders and being a nut.
Same. The day before I gave birth to my son, I was like, so I need you to go to Michael's because I'm out of Mod Podge and I want to do this subway art and I need to get it up before the baby comes tomorrow.
Oh, girl.
Tomorrow. Like I'm literally giving birth. They're going to cut me open tomorrow.
Yeah.
But if you could do, so my daughter and I are on an 18 by 24 canvas. Legit. Like, I'm like, okay, I can't reach. So I need you to roll it out. And then you start at the top and I'll work the bottom. And then we're going to meet in the middle, but I can only go so far because I can't get back up. Same. Like, why was I doing that?
Well, I know for getting help is absolutely the right thing, but when you're suffering from PPD, like I was the first time, I didn't even know.
Yeah.
People around me were having conversations about it after I came out of it, but it was like, why wouldn't you bring that to me? Like I literally, for me, and I've learned now as an adult, 2 kids later, whenever I go through a transition, I will have some sort of depression.
Yeah.
My body went from carrying a baby to not carrying a baby, mourning my old life, my old body, my old identity. And then, if there's anything that'll send me to therapy quicker, it is parenting a daughter. Like
Real
facing your own issues through your
Real
same
talk.
sex child, like you see it. So gosh, I wish at the time somebody would have said, hey, maybe you should think about talking to somebody. But I was dealing with so much trauma that I wasn't even conscious was coming up, so much hurt and pain from when I was a little girl that was just like boom, 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 boom. Identity crisis. I mean, so yeah, have what you had, a group of people around you who can say, hey, I think something's off. I think
Yeah.
maybe we need to
I found it to be the loneliest place in the world. Was
Yeah.
after
Yeah,
depression.
very lonely.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to be that friend for the people that you love.
Yeah.
Do it with
It's
love.
a
Like
great
being
reminder.
honest is like, there's being honest and then being honest and being an asshole like is a choice.
Right.
So you can do it with love. And it's usually a very sensitive topic. So
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I very much so had to like, as a Virgo who's like prides herself in like high achieving boss bitch. Look at me. I had my son on the day I planned to have him. Very Virgo. Very Virgo. Like I was like, oh, this is gonna be his birthday, and that was his birthday, and he was born on that day, and that would be his birthday because I picked it, and I feel very proud about that. But you know, there's also the side of like being so high achieving, being so like I want to be perfect, so motivated. It gives you insane anxiety, but it also gives you extreme depression when you don't meet those goals, right? So I was dealing with anxiety and depression, and I didn't know it.
Yeah.
Right? Because I didn't know. And I was in therapy and I didn't know it. And I'm pretty sure my therapist was like, eventually she's gonna figure it out. Like, why can't they tell me? Just fucking tell me. I'm spending all this money to get help, and you fucking know what my problem is.
But aren't you so proud when you do it yourself?
Yeah, and that's the point, right? So like, you know, but I had reached a point where I hit a wall where I literally was like, I won't be here anymore. Like I'm going to take my life, you know, trigger warning for everybody, but I was very suicidal, and I knew that I needed help because like this wasn't me. Like I didn't feel like myself, and I wasn't moving like myself. I wasn't looking like myself, but somehow I was still like working and like doing, and I was just like, dang, like I'm really high functioning. Like I'm really high functioning, and that's nothing to be proud of.
No.
You know? So like when I finally reached out and made a call to my mom, and I was just like, Mom, like I need help. Like I don't know what I'm like. My kid needs to be potty trained, and I can't do it right now. Like I need to go back to work. I need to do this. I've gained weight. Like I need help. Like I don't feel like myself. And my mom didn't even ask any questions. She was like, when do you want me to come? Immediately she's like, when she was like, give me some time to give my job a heads up. I'm gonna figure out stuff with my car and figure out like eat up enough food out of my refrigerator so it doesn't go bad, so that I can stay for as long as. And she said, how long? I was like, can you stay like, you know, like 6 months? She was like, I think I can do 3. And she gave me 3 months of her time. She sat down her whole life, came, picked up, potty trained my son, took care of me, got me to the point where mentally I was able to realize I need to start moving. I started working out when my mom was there because she was watching my kids. So I felt comfortable to go for a run. And I started, you know, doing my therapy and like doing all these things. And like, she was just encouraging me every step. I would come in after running crying and like, it hurts so bad. I don't want to do this. She's like, well, then just stop. And I'm like, no, I'm gonna keep going. And she's like, okay, then keep going. And I'm like, stop it. Like, leave me alone, but also like continue to do that. And so it was, I needed my mom, and at that time.
Did it change your relationship with her?
It changed our relationship for the better. It's actually gotten so much stronger since then.
Yes.
And without saying, I didn't say it was postpartum depression. I didn't say what it was. She just knew that like she heard it in my voice and she came immediately. And like she helped me. And like now she's listening to the podcast, and so she's probably gonna hear this episode. Hey, mommy. And she said like she heard the episode I talked about my postpartum depression, and she was like, I knew it was depression, you know, but I didn't say anything. And she was like, you didn't look like yourself. Like I gained like 30 pounds. So like I physically wasn't wearing my clothes. I couldn't fit anything. I was looking crazy. I was looking like, and I was on birth control, and there was like so many factors that were happening. And my mom came in and she fucking swooped in like Superwoman and saved your girl. And now I'm here, but it's all because she came in and helped me. I could have never, all the therapy in the world wouldn't have helped me get out of that sooner than having somebody come in
and help
and actually physically help me. And sometimes that's what it is. Yeah.
So can I say something really quick? The first time I ever met you in person, we were at a mutual friend's birthday situation.
Okay.
And I remember telling another friend, I was like, oh my God, I finally got to meet Shanitra Blunt Blowing Mom. I was like, she's so sweet. She's so cute. I was like, she's in the weeds right now, but she doesn't know it. And I don't know her well enough to be like, hey, I can see this because I recognize it in myself, and I recognize it in other women all the time.
And I had a fresh baby, like my son.
Yeah,
was like a
and
baby
you were,
at the time.
he was really young.
Was
and
this Joy's birthday party?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I was there too.
No. This was
Okay.
at,
Okay, never mind.
Yeah. No, but it was, you were supposed to
be there,
but
that you didn't make it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you know what I mean.
Yeah, I'd be at the house.
But you were supposed to be there.
But yeah,
it was a far drive. It was like 3 hours.
Yeah, it was just like, I really like her, and I hope that like she has people in her life that like can help. And then I remember seeing you being like, I'm going for a run. And I was like, yes, girl, get it. And I'm the person that like, I don't have to know you from a hole in the ground. I will cheer you on from afar because I have been there and I see it and I recognize it in myself and other people. And it's the same thing when you have daughters, you know, you see it in yourself, you see it in them because you saw it in you.
So she
right?
probably, my mom even felt that pull.
Probably,
She
yes.
was like,
and that's the thing, like with moms and daughters, you kind of know. And so like to hear you say that, like you just called her and were like, yeah. And she's like, I'm in. Like that's so dope to me. And like I know that like as moms of daughters, we all hope that like
we get that call.
Like, you really hope she reaches out.
Well, yeah, like that's all. And I tell them all the time, I'm like, all I want is for her to feel safe with me and in my presence. And so she feels safe enough to call me for whatever. I don't care what it is.
It's the goal.
I'm your getaway driver. Like I got you. Like,
right.
Yeah.
And that to hear that like your mom fully showed up, like that's fucking rad. Like so
and
shout out to your mom.
Shout out to your mom.
Shout out to my mommy, Miss Cherie Anthony.
Yes.
She's amazing. And even you, Wendy, when you saw like you saw me earlier last year or something?
It was I think we met last
we met last year. So it was
February,
early,
March.
and you saw me again, like, or you saw me later on Instagram later in the year, and you were just like, oh, I'm so happy for you. Like you sent that, and I was like, you didn't have to send that message, but you knew, like,
I know it means everything, because you know it just feels so good when you feel like yourself again. And it's hard on yourself to carry around extra weight. I know when if I don't have it on, I'm 58 now. And so when I have a little extra weight, my knees hurt, my back hurts. And so I do it more for my feeling good. I wake up every morning feeling great. And, you know, I was so happy for you because you're already shiny.
Yeah.
You just want to put on everything and go, this looks great too. You know, and when you have that extra, it's just hard. It's a weird thing. And I kept mine on, this is really sad. I kept on my extra weight until my daughter was 20. I had that extra 20 pounds and I wore it around. And then at one point I was just like, I'm going to get rid of this, but don't do that. Don't do that, mamas. Don't wear it for 20 years.
And sometimes it's not even physical weight. It's literal, like
emotional baggage.
Stress weight.
It's stress. It's literally
stress
like
weight.
It's stress. Like people don't even realize stress can cause you to look heavier than you actually are.
Yes.
Even in your face. And I've learned with my body that like when I'm stressed, like my body has a physical reaction to it. And cannabis helps me to counteract that physical reaction that's going on with my body. And when we're talking about like recovering from postpartum and things, like I would be remiss to say that shrooms have helped me immensely in coming back from that postpartum depression that I languished in for 2 years. 2 years is entirely too long to be depressed after having a baby and not even know that you're going through it, but like through sitting with shrooms, through therapy, through having people come into the home, through movement, through prayer, through birth. Like it's a whole, like you have to do the whole gamut of the
different things. Yeah.
And you need so many people. You need a village to support you so that you feel okay with going to that yoga class, so that you feel okay with like, I need 30 minutes of breath work in my room, or I need a 20-minute soak in the bath, or 60 minutes for me sometimes. And but you need that. And if you don't have that village, like you will always feel like a burden for like wanting to sleep more. You'll feel like a burden for wanting to luxuriate in the bath because you're gonna be like, how dare I get this extra rest? How dare I be in the bath so long when like my kids need me to turn on Bluey and they don't know how to turn on Bluey, and it's like, fuck Bluey.
They'll be fine. They will be fine.
Okay, so I want to move on and ask you guys, like, how would you recommend someone mindfully incorporate cannabis into their mental health routine? What are some good daily practices?
Journaling.
Yeah.
You need to like really pay attention to how you feel before you consume, and start setting your intention. Like thinking about the things that are making you mad or anxious or sad and then sparking up is a terrible idea because you're just going to expand that feeling. So you really want to set your intention. And that also makes you mindfully smoke. When you're just like, oh, I'm gonna smoke this because it's right there, those are like terrible habits to start getting into because you start coping and you don't even realize it. So journaling how you feel before, how you feel during, what does it smell like, how old is it, who who grew it, where did you get it? You know, look at the cultivator on the back of the pretty packaging. That tells you more about the what's in there. And over time, you'll start to figure out what your body likes and what you don't like. And that's how I figured out I hate orangey, any kind of cannabis. Don't want it. If you accidentally give it to me and I hit it, I'm going to be disgusted. It's through journaling is how I figured that out. You get to be your own doctor because even doctors don't understand this medicine.
I love that. I love that. I think that journaling is it's been really good for me. And also coloring, I would throw out there.
Yes.
Like if you're looking for a way
That's
to
the best.
That is the
tap
best.
into your mental health and really just like take care of yourself, like spark one up or like have a big bong rip. I bought myself a set of 100 colored pencils.
Yes.
During
And
COVID?
like 6 months ago.
During COVID. Guilty.
Yes. Like it's very helpful. It's
Yeah.
the adult coloring books are
Yes.
my favorite.
Oh,
Yes.
I have like 7 and I do because that's my shit. Like I'm going to get high and I'm going to color and zone out or I'm going to do a puzzle.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like, that's like my way. That's not a physical thing. Like, right. Because that gives me, like, I'm a Gemini, so I'm an air sign and I'm in my head all the time. Like all I'm doing is perpetually thinking and running shit all day long. And so it's the time that like my brain kind of slows
centers
down.
us.
Yes. Like it really does. It centers us.
Mhm.
And
both
like, and people
Geminis.
laugh.
We
Like,
always-
like,
We always send each other
we send each other
Gemini.
shit all day long because
Yeah.
I'll be like, nah, you get this. And she's like, yeah, same. And I'm like, right. But like, it's the thing that I'm like, okay, this is what I want to do. Like sometimes sitting in the bathtub is really hard for me because I'm like,
What else?
what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, I need something else to do. So like, I'll read during that time, which is great. But then like, I also got
God, I
into
can't
like
read.
journaling while doing like a good CBD bath and then like having a beautiful like an herbal blended joint. And like, that's kind of like the vibe sometimes. And then I'm like, okay, now I want to go color or I'm just going to free write and do a brain dump. And like Tammy was saying, like, it's really great to like really set your intention beforehand. And then you get some of this most beautiful shit. And you're like, it's literally not like I write. So like, it'll be prose and like all kinds of nonsense. But then like, there's also like random nonsense. I'm like, I'm writing rhymes over here. I'm like dropping fire. Right. And I go back and I read it. And it's funny sometimes when you look back at the free writing, a lot of that shit either has come to fruition or you've seen stuff that like you needed to process, but you didn't know that that's what you were processing. You're just like writing it out like, yeah, okay, this was today and it was great. But like I was telling somebody, one of the young girls we were hanging out with the other day, they're super cute. And she's like, yeah, I've been wanting to get into like this. And I was like, okay, so I'm going to tell you the one thing that I do that changed everything. I was like, it's daily gratitude. And it sounds like bullshit, right? And it's very woo-woo. You know, we live in California, so we're all about
Of course
like,
they expect
yeah,
that
like
from
we
us.
got all of that, right?
Yeah.
But like
hippies.
I was like, even if you don't feel like you can do a whole list, like don't give yourself a number. I was like 3 things in the morning that you're excited about. Like it could literally be like, my shoes match my shirt, like, or something like I wore great socks today. I was like, it's literally the smallest stuff. I was like, and then watch, everything just shifts. And then when you're doing that and you consume, like, that's my favorite way to end the day is like, oh, I'm going to smoke this. And then I'm going to do my gratitude journaling. And then you're like, today wasn't that bad. Like next month, you know, like, yeah, maybe the kids were like crazy and I didn't know what we were going to make for dinner or whatever. And I was kind of a shit show for a little while, but then like you look back and you're like, oh, well,
It was a good
we had some really good laughs. Like, you know, everybody was on beat at the dinner table. Like it was one of those things. So it's a little
gratitude.
Gratitude.
And go ahead.
Sorry. I find that for us, too, with other people, if you have a friend and if you guys can get on the same wavelength, when you manifest and smoke, if you guys are both on the same frequency and we are definitely on the same page as what you want, when you guys are together and you smoke, that manifestation comes faster.
Absolutely.
Wow. Yeah.
So if you have somebody like that in your life, I'm telling you, it's
magic.
It's magic.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane.
And then
My
it's so good for your
sister-
psyche, for your own mental health too, because then you feel less alone. And I think that's what it's about at the end of the day. Is like we all just want to be connected and like as moms,
Fellowship.
and as moms we feel it's like the loneliest job in the world,
So
even
lonely.
though so many people are doing the same job every
Yeah.
day. We're still all kind of on these islands.
Yeah.
And it's always nice to be like, hey, you get it too. And like, I remember my first mom friend that smoked and I was like, and she was like, yes. And I was like, And we started doing like yoga Tuesdays, and we would get high, and like our girls were the same age. So it was perfect. And then like even meeting these ladies, it's always like, oh, you guys are moms too. You get it. Like, you can't come out tonight. We got kid shit we got to do. And everybody, like, we feel less alone in this community and this overall industry. So that's what it's about.
Being a public Cannamom, what I love about that the most is all the moms at school that I smoke with. Like I am for certain. Like they know they're safe with me if they approach me. So I do love that about being a public Cannamom, because it is such a stigma that moms hide. Like I even went to Orange County to my old neighborhood and like talked to one of the moms alone. She's like, I smoke, but they don't know. And I'm like, I just met this woman today. And I was like, oh, Emma smokes. Like, my friend Emma smokes. Like, you should talk to her.
Now you guys can be friends. Yeah. And y'all can do that together.
Yeah, so that's one of the perks about being a Cannamom. I know that was off topic, but that made me think about
it's like
being
that,
a public, like we're their safe haven.
Then they have questions. Or they want to confess something.
Oh my God. They just want to consume with you.
They need to get it off their chest.
Get it off their chest. Like, space. I smoke too, but nobody in my family knows. Like, go off. I've been there.
I've been smoking for over 20 years. Where can I get the strong stuff?
Yes. Those are my favorites. And then like even the ones that you don't suspect, and they're like completely, they're like, well, actually, and I'm like, go ahead, girl. Your secret is safe with me, because I'm not telling nobody. It's about building community. Like this plant brings us together. Like it's a communal plant. Like if that's the whole purpose, is for us to commune together, for us to have conversations like this together, and to be open and be ourselves. And I think that like cannabis opens you up when you lean into it. Like you can really be your most vulnerable self. You can't really hide from yourself when you are, you know, engaging with this plant, you know. So let's see, I have one more question for you guys. Well, actually, I feel like we already touched on it, but I'll still ask it really quickly. How important is having a support system when someone is working on their mental health? And how can you build one if you don't have a support system? Because a lot of people are like, I don't have a village. I don't have a support system. My mom is toxic. My dad is toxic. You know, like, what do they do?
Well, actually, this goes better. I wanted to say it earlier, but you know what I was going to say is that the gratitude list is so powerful. But one of my healers helped me years ago and just said something kind of offhand. Well, what do you love to do? What are things that you love? And so I started a list of things that I love. And anytime I'm really having a hard time, when I don't have anybody else and I don't know who to call, I'll go to my list and I'll say, oh, I love going to the ocean. Wait, the ocean's not that far away. Let's just go down and put my feet in the sand. And just
touch water.
Try and do things that I know make me feel good. You know, like, I have my favorite book of poetry, and I always know that makes me feel really happy. Or just climbing, you know, walking to the end of the street, getting out for a walk. You know, sometimes there's just nobody that you feel, you know, comfortable enough calling or asking. And you know, when you said you called your mom, for me, that would be the hardest part for me, is asking for help. And I would, you know, think that's so beautiful that you felt close enough to ask her for that. So, you know, trying to heal yourself is just another little trick, you know, of I think my list has something like 500 things on it, because I have it in my notes, and it's like things that make me happy, and I just constantly am adding new things.
I love that. That's such a great idea.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And I'll just pick one.
You're bound to find one that makes you happy.
Right. In that moment, or that works for that moment. You know, sometimes you can't leave the house, or sometimes you're really working on a paper, but you know that if you know, go brush your teeth. I mean, brushing my teeth is the weirdest thing. I brush my teeth and it instantly makes me happy, because I feel like I'm brushing my teeth and I'm smiling already. So, you know, it can be something little.
Yeah.
Just
it's
little
things
tricks.
for sure.
Gosh, for me, I understand, like, oh, I don't have family to support me. You have to really build your community with the people around you. Like, those are those college friends, usually the people after high school, and those best friends for life. Like, I have a few friends that if I call and say, hey, I have this incredible opportunity, but I don't have a sitter, they will fly in for 24 hours.
Wow.
That
Love
part.
it.
And they've done it time and time again. They come out for one or the kid's birthday every year. And whenever I find out something about them, I'll just say, hey, I'll be there tomorrow. Will you be home around 1 p.m.? Because that's when my flight gets in. So that's you. Those are your family members. And, blood doesn't make them any more my family than my blood relatives. Like, I see them as equal. Like, she's my sister. So, finding those relationships and holding on to them, and also learning how to navigate conflict with these people, because relationships have conflict, and that doesn't mean that they should end because a conflict arose.
Can you say it again? Because some people think that it's time. You're going to end a 10-year friendship.
No,
over
absolutely
one
not. You're my sister for life, and we're going to fight just like you and your sisters fight.
sisters.
Sometimes physically.
Physical
We're going to get on each
other.
other's nerves. We're going to need time apart. Like, we're going to argue or have petty little dumb stuff that, comes between us, but this is for life.
And that's part of learning each other's boundaries. That's how I learn you. So if we get into an argument because, like, I took your lighter and then I took your lighter again, and I took your lighter, and now I'm like, and you're like, hey, you can't take my like,
right,
stop taking
like,
my shit. That's a boundary.
Me and my sister are so different. Like, she is like, I'm gonna be on time. She's a project manager. She's on time like 30 minutes early. I'm gonna get to the airport and walk straight on the plane, and she cannot stand that. So when she asks me to take her to the airport,
she's having a heart
She
attack.
lies about the time.
we are not
Probably.
we're not seeing the same way. But like, I'm like, hey, it's Burbank. Don't worry about it. Like, you only need to be there like 20 minutes before your flight. And she's like, no, like, I don't want to play this game.
But then it's just like knowing people, right? And just knowing who's going to be able to show up in what capacity,
Right.
and not setting unfair expectations on people, like, if that's how they show up for you and that's the best way they can, then just let them show up the way that they can. And find somebody who can show up for you. And I was listening to something, or maybe whatever it was, but it was some great advice. And they were saying, let people know how to fill your cup. Because you can't always fill your cup. But if the people around you who love you, whoever those people are, just say, hey, you know what I really like sometimes? If you just send me an audio message saying I love you. Or what if you send me a text message saying I was thinking about you? Or what if you send like an old picture that popped up in your memories and you're like, remember this?
Yeah, they're always there. And then, listen, Instagram friends, do not take them for granted. There are people that have been supporting and hyping me since I started this concept. Like, Pearly in Canada, like, oh my gosh.
Shout out to Pearly.
I still can't wait to meet her. I know all about her husband, her daughter. Like, I've been following her. She's been following me. Like, literally, like, if you're feeling alone, there are internet people who you they support you more than your family ever.
I think I am convinced people in Canada are just way nicer. Because I think the people in Canada are the
less
nicest
impending
people
doom of a
even
feel over
on
there.
our side. Like, most of our, like, in Canada, I'm telling you, it's a Canadian thing. We all need to visit.
Yeah, tap it. It's there. Usually we're not getting it from the people that we want, so we feel like we don't have it. But it's there if you're truly looking for it. And that's where gratitude comes in.
Put it on my thing because I got really close. This is so me. You're supposed to test all this stuff for the hemp cup. Bought the little kit, brought it home, and then I opened it up like a week before I was due. So I just said to all my Instagram friends, like, anybody who wants to come over and help me test, you have to write like a little bio. And I think I had like 15 women who showed up that night. It was amazing.
Wow. I love that.
I met some of my people that, we've
Community.
been talking, and it was great. So yeah, Instagram friends are real friends.
Some of my
Oh,
favorite and
sure.
closest friends are from the internet, and it's like my favorite. It is my favorite thing when people are like, "How did you meet?" And I'm like, we slid. I was like, I met somebody. I was my OG. I was just hanging out with him. Like, I slid in her DMs and was like, "So we're friends now. Like, this is what we're doing."
We're friends.
And, we've been kicking it ever since. So it is about community, and it's about remembering too that it's not always family. And like Tammy was saying, like your blood relatives, it's really about the ones that you create and cultivate. And like, as a mom, having friends who will like come watch your kids or keep your kids for you, or let your kids hang out with their kids because y'all got to go do something, or you got to do whatever. Like, that is so clutch. Even on the way here, I was calling my best friend like, okay, so we haven't checked in a few days because I was out of town, but hey, by the way, what are you doing on Thursday? Like, you want to come keep the boy for a little while? Like, yes, it's your godson. So like, you're kind of obligated, but like, you're also a single woman who has like stuff to do. Like, I don't know. I don't want to interrupt your life. So I'm like, Like, are you really busy? Or like, can we move this lunch thing?
Yeah, no,
Like,
seriously, DM Amber. She is that friend. Like, I know I could call her.
oh yeah, like
say,
our kids
"Hey."
hang out, and
Yeah.
like that's our favorite thing. Like we
Yeah.
spent like my son's birthday this year. I was like, okay, well, who do I want to hang out with whose kids that I like?
Exactly.
That's that also like my kids.
Yeah.
And my kids also like.
Ooh, it's a lot.
And I was like, well, I'm calling Tammy, obviously.
Levels to this.
And like we had a blast. And then because my daughter's older, we were like, bye.
Yeah.
And let them, like, she was like, well, they wanted to go on a ride. And we were all like, absolutely not. Like, we're not doing this. But like, it was great to be like, okay, this is so cool.
Yeah.
And so OG and I were literally talking about this the other day. Like, we have this really great community of stuff that she had created. And then I was like, but then we have this other sub community that I was like, she's a part of, y'all are a part of, you're a part of, you're a part of. Like, it's this beautiful, like, Cannamom thing that we've started, and we all met online. Like, that doesn't make any sense. But, like, I'm like, those are the people that ride hardest for me, and the ones that I know will show up, show out. I'm like, it's always my favorite when, like, we have an event or we do things, and, like, we talk all the time, and we still won't be like, oh, are you going to such and such? Because like we just forget because we're talking about other shit. And then you show up and you're like, hey, friends are here. Like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it really is about like cultivating that, being that person, but like also showing up for other people in the same way that you want them to show up for you, right? Because that's where we also all get stuck. Well, they didn't do this for me. They didn't call me on my birthday. They didn't do this. Well, what did you do? Did you forget? Did you call them and celebrate them? Or when they were calling to celebrate and tell you good news, did you immediately launch into whatever bullshit you got going on? Like, you got to take a beat and like have a real conversation with yourself, but then also like know who you're talking to too. And like you were saying, like know who can show up for you in the way that you need them to. Like, you know that there's certain friends that you cannot call to do X, Y. Like, there's people I love to death. I would not let you watch my child. Like, absolutely not. And that baby is 11. So like, that's not a real lot of watching, but like, no. But then there's friends that, you know, if you're like, I feel like shit, they're like, what do you need? How can I help? Can we get something to you? What can we do for you?
Yeah.
There are friends who will show up for your birthday that you've never like hung out with before, but they're like, I mean, y'all know we all have like internet community, and those people like show up and show out. So shout out to the community.
Yes.
And I would say like nurture your relationships. You know, I feel like as moms, sometimes it can get difficult balancing friendships and your intimate relationship with your husband or your spouse, and then your kids, and then like your career. And so sometimes friendships fall off by the wayside. But I would say like that's one of those very important relationships in your life as well that should be prioritized, up there with your kids, up there with your parents, up there with yourself, because those are the people that love on you. And it's like, you need to love them back and make sure like, hey, have I called her lately? Have I seen, like, making sure that it's a two-way street, because people will only reach so many times before they're like, okay. Or they give so much where they realize that it's not 50-50. So be mindful and like love on your friends. Tell them I love you. And
make it weird.
And make it really fucking weird. Like, you
know.
I know. This is team fucker. Like, you know, you can never tell your friends I love you enough. I think that it's like very important as women. We need these, like, more than men. Like, we really need these relationships and these conversations and these moments, because like our energy goes up, like we start vibrating way higher. Like, you can leave like you're on a high. Like, there's nothing like a conversation with another woman. You know?
I think for us too, what's crazy is that because we worked together first, then we became friends, and then we started a business together, it really tests a friendship when you add business on top of everything. And I really like commend us a lot that like we really hold down each part, even when, you know, we're around each other so much. And as we all know, we still all need space. And the one thing I love, we can still be in the same room and not speak at all, give each other space, and then know that, okay, now we're good and we can move forward. And I've never had a friendship like this. I appreciate it. And I am the weird one. She is not a very lovey-dovey. So we're like yin and yang. So I force her to like be more lovey-dovey, and she forces me to be, I think, more stern.
More bitchy, I guess.
Yeah.
She brings out your
I said
gangster.
stern.
I love that. I guess. You see it. Okay, so I feel you guys.
great.
We were like really in this convo and totally went over time. I looked up and I was like, "Fuck, how did that happen?" But I think that we were really vibing, and like just mental health is so important. Like if you are not mentally well, there's just no way you can show up for yourself and for your family and your partners the way you want to, and live the life that you really are supposed to live, you know?
Yeah.
And so thank you guys so much for giving your insights. Are there any parting thoughts that you guys would like to give or say about mental health, or your own like relationship with weed in your mental health, or psychedelics, like, you know, whatever? One last word.
The thing I'm taking away from this is just to, you know, as women, just forgive each other. And what you were saying, sorry, am I? But it just really touched me to think that you can have a fight with a girlfriend and still be friends with them. You know,
manage your
and it's not an
conflict.
end all, because there's so much of the housewife mentality, you know, that everybody, I mean, I have to tell my sister, quit doing this to me. I mean, just tell me what is upsetting you so I can hug you and tell you I'm sorry. And
No, listen, there's so many ways to do it. Like, I am gonna send you a passive aggressive meme.
Yeah.
Like, that's how I'm gonna communicate I'm unhappy to my friends. It's gonna make them laugh, but they're also gonna know, okay, like, she needs some attention right now. Like, I haven't heard from you in 9 days. I don't like this. But yeah, managing your conflict with everyone. And friends are the most forgiving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you have to give them that chance to forgive. Don't take them. I would never deprive anyone the opportunity to repent, to say that they are sorry. Like, give them that opportunity. If they don't do it, well, now you know where they stand. Fuck them.
For sure.
But if they do, you know, like,
no, that's what's up.
Yeah, but if they do, you're like, dang, like, you're like, if I realize with my kids, like, if I can forgive my kid for like breaking my favorite whatever, or writing on my favorite, you know, when kids destroy shit, so whatever it is, and like, I'm devastated, but I still forgive you. Why would I not grant that grace to my friend of 20 years, 10 years, whatever? Like, why is it different? And I had to really ask myself that, and that's when I realized, like, oh shit, I'm being unfair. Like, it's me. Hi. Problem.
It's all we.
So
mine would just be grace for yourself and for others. Like, everybody's going through something. And I think the sooner we all realize that and accept that, and then just be, as like you were saying, forgiving and open, and just like, okay, I have to have grace for whatever it is that they're going through is not what I'm going through. And maybe they can't be there for me right now. And that's cool. And that's when you shoot the text like, hey, I love you, but now is not a good time. Like, you know, you got to just do that. And it's cool. And then if you're good, y'all will come back. And if not,
just have to be gentle with yourself. And I had somebody recently ask me, like, do you have space right now? Can I talk to you? You know, and that was so refreshing.
That's the
like,
best.
wow. Actually, no, but sorry.
I love you.
I love you. I'll pray for you. But, you know, it's just like, we're all going through something, and it is tough, you know, and we just be gentle. No, it's not easy. It's not pretty. Healing is not pretty at all.
No.
So be gentle with yourself.
For sure.
I think sharing your stories,
Yeah.
all of us sharing our stories is helpful, because then more people don't feel like they're alone. And the more I think that you do share, more people come back with you, you know, back at you like, me too.
Yeah.
And so it's a give and take type of thing. And I think that it's very healing and helpful, and we should all do more of it.
For sure.
My advice is, once I got a therapist that was also a woman of color, It was such a game changer for me, like improved my life in like a small amount of sessions. I went, through therapy with her for a year and a half and really transformed myself. But gosh, like down to even she was a twin who experienced, what a lot of twins experience within their twin connection. I don't know if people know much about like what can happen in that dynamic, but like having somebody that can understand your experience because they've been through it, meaning like if you're having postpartum issues, maybe let's go to a therapist that might also have had children and can really understand versus maybe a man who can only empathize to a certain extent. And then, his biases do play a role into how that works out between you two. So yeah, just a little, tip there for me.
That is really important. You guys, please know that if you are seeking help, there are all sorts of therapists out there who can help you. My partner recently, he did a trauma therapy. So he found a therapist who specialized in trauma. Like my therapist was also a life coach and did professional career coaching because that's where I felt like I needed help. When I go to therapy, I was venting about blunt blowing mama. Right. And then I was venting about my relationships. So I needed somebody who can handle that and who had that experience and would be able to give me business advice and career advice. How to navigate those relationships, but also like my personal shit. Right. So everybody might need different things. It may look different for a lot of people. Some people are like, I can only have a female therapist. I only want a woman. Some people are like, I need that person to be a person of color, but it could be a man, or somebody may say, hey, they need to be in the LGBT community because I need you to understand my experience. It's very niche it down. Don't be afraid to say like, you're not going to work for me. Like be very, because you're spending your time and your money on this person. So customize your care. You definitely can. And you guys, thank you so much for joining me for this amazingly great conversation about mental health. I feel like high as fuck right now. So nice. One time, let everybody know how they can reach you. And thank you again.
Why Mommy Gets High on Instagram, whatever. No, not Twitter, but a bunch of other things. It's a kid's book for the 420 friendly family.
All right.
Oh, whoever else wants to.
Okay, you can.
Ce Ce and Renee at Puff and Parlay. Two moms breaking the cannabis stigma.
Yeah. And I'm Amber at From Carpools and the 2 Cocktails on Instagram.
And you can find me on Instagram at the Cannabis Cutie, and if it's not there, at Cutie's Revenge.
Thank you guys so much for coming to chat and have this wonderful conversation. This has been amazing. Wow. Wow.
Yes.
We did it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Peace.